All right, wakey, wakey. It's a beautiful day today. And of course, we're having breakfast here in the studio. It's a breakfast show. And you're most welcome on Uongozi today, this 14th of Friday, 2024. Full-packed show for you where we shall be analyzing what really transpired yesterday. And of course, also looking at what it does really portend for you moving forward. We have our guests already in studio. It's a full house, holding court this morning with Dr. Martin Olo, who is an advocate of the High Court. Also, we have Kipruto Arab Kiro, governance and policy analyst. We're joined also by Haman Manyora, governance and policy analyst. Professor Kindiki, John Kindiki, who is also governance and policy analyst as well. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
Now the energy is there after serving you tea. That's the way to go to start in the morning. Chai in the morning, warm. Of course, we have a full-packed show, and most welcome to you, all of you. A hearty welcome. I want to thank you so much. Martin, we missed you, right?
I missed you too. And I also missed a fellow called Kindiki.
Kindiki is here.
Kindiki.
Yeah. And of course, I can see nowadays you've decided to be donning a farmer's cape. I don't know.
I need to look
that you should give it to the farmer. You're not a farmer.
I need to look different from these other guys.
Yeah.
Because you see, I'm not going to be...
This is product differentiation.
Differentiation, yeah. You look different. Just by way of appearance.
Haman Manyora, good morning.
Morning, show.
Thank you for joining us. What's new? I thought I would have seen you yesterday, at least protesting the...
People who love this country.
Or you offended off by the police? Yeah?
We are people who
within
love
any
this
precincts of parliament?
No.
All right, let's hear from
I
Kipruto.
didn't even know they were reading budget.
What were you doing?
I was just there. I didn't even know.
You're so disengaged. Yes.
That Article 10 does not anticipate.
Well,
They are not involved, they are not engaged, they are not participating. No.
This
You
is-
can't say
you
that.
know, Martin,
This is the epitome of apathy.
From the background where budget ilikuwa kitu. Everyone was holding their breath.
But you know, now we have more informed Kenyans,
So
right?
now, by the time they are
yeah,
reading, we know everything. So it used to be a secret.
at least everyone is interrogating with the budget. Kipruto,
Yes.
did you interrogate with this particular budget?
Well, I was
Were you
able
following?
I was able to follow
Okay.
some of the clips, but of course, the reading of the budget is so detailed that if you are to sit there, you might doze off. So I was able to pick one or two things. But the overall thing that I saw is that the voting on the budget has already taken place. Listening to members of parliament from different political divide, you realize that they are supporting regardless of whether it is punishing their constituents or not. I saw that, and therefore, it is what they call in French fait accompli. There is nothing much that we expect to change between now and the finalization of the budget and being ascended by the president for it to be an act of parliament for them to take money from us in the next couple of months. Yep.
All right, of course, we shall be hearing more of it as well, and we'll give you the paper review much later as I try and put my ducks in a row here. But let me just give you a feel and flavor of what really happened and who are the winners and losers from that particular occasion yesterday. But before I do that, I'll be remiss also if I don't welcome John Kindiki here. I think you were there yesterday. I must have seen.
Yeah, I was not in the... I wasn't there, but I watched it from my house.
Okay.
And, I think I followed the proceedings as the budget was being presented yesterday in Parliament. And to me, it's good budget so far.
It's a good budget.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for this country. If
After
all
taking
the
all Kenyans.
proposals are taken in, you see when change is there, people have to complain really, about change, and people are always very uncomfortable with the change. But sometimes change brings good things to people, even when they resist that change. So I hope that despite of the resistance that is there, the general members of public and I think the members of parliament have a duty to pass that budget as it is, and then we wait for implementation of that budget. And actually, if all goes well and that budget is implemented the latter, then I think it will be good for this country because we need to progress. As you see that the current government has been there only for one year. So the impact of this budget will be felt maybe 2025, 2026. So I think it's a good thing and very positive. And let's wait for good things and also wait for the Parliament to discuss it next week, starting Tuesday.
Yes, they're in retreat in Mombasa right now, so we'll see what will be the outcome as well. But let's set the tone for the conversation where the Treasury Cabinet Secretary presented to Parliament the 3.992 trillion shillings budget for the financial year 2024-2025, with the government being very bullish that the economy will remain vibrant. Here is a story that was done yesterday, just to give you an indication of what really happened.
The Kenya Kwanza government plans to spend a total of 3.992 trillion shillings, with a mega portion going towards recurrent expenditure, while funds towards development standing at 774 billion shillings.
Of this, the recurrent expenditure will amount to Kenya shillings 2,840 billion, or 15.7% of GDP. The development expenditures, including allocations to domestic and foreign finance projects, contingency fund, and even equalization fund, is Kenya shilling 707.4 billion, equivalent to 3.9% of GDP.
County governments have been allocated 444.5 billion, which comprises of 400.1 billion for the equitable share of revenue raised nationally, 8.76 billion in additional conditional allocations from the national government share of revenue, and 35.66 billion shillings as conditional allocation from development partners. On the revenue side, the government is projecting a total revenue collection of 3.343 trillion shillings.
Already KRA is growing at 15%. The revenues are growing. And the full impact of the tax measures that have been put in place have not necessarily been felt. It takes time. There are lags in effect. For instance, measures last year that were approved by Parliament, we had a court case. It took a few months, maybe about a month for the court to lift, and then we were able to implement. Some measures were not beginning in July. Some were beginning in September. Some were beginning in this January to be implemented. So the full impact of those measures have not necessarily been felt. But we have seen a 63% in progress in implementing those tax measures for last year.
Ordinary revenue will account for 2.917 trillion, driven by an aggressive revenue collection strategy, which the CS noted is not hurting the private sector at all.
Let me tell you, there is nowhere in Kenya that you have raised taxes to the point where farms can close down. Give me an example. There is no way you can come up with policies that kill even a household or an industry. So let's move away from those points that have no even relevance, because it's not true. Who would want to do that?
For example, East African packaging industry.
That they have their own internal problems, my friend. You know, if you fail to compete in the world today, you cannot survive.
For the coming financial year, the budget deficit will be 597 billion, with plans to borrow 333.8 billion shillings from external sources, compared to domestics 263.2 billion shillings. There are two sides of a coin. On one side, Treasury's head says that we are between a rock and a hard place. We have to choose between taxes or borrowing, and they have gone with taxes. And on the other side of the coin is the different sectors decrying the aggressive move to raise taxes, saying that that is putting many sectors on a guillotine and heads are about to roll.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Kwanza administration has maintained its focus on strengthening and equipping the country's security apparatus, with this year's budget exhibiting a significant rise from the previous year. For the uptake time, security was among the big winners, receiving a lion's share, coming only third after education and infrastructure at 377 billion shillings. But will the giant allocation translate into better days for the men in blue? That's a probing question. And here is KTN senior reporter Francis Otoma to give us a perspective.
In a world where security threats are ever evolving, these men and women are forced to confront enormous security challenges. But on most occasions, they remain steadfast even while on the front lines. Today's budget by the Kenya Kwanza administration appeared to place a badge of honor to these officers.
There's an evolution of crime. Crime is nowadays migrating from that physical involvement to cyber security and artificial intelligence type of crime. And that requires us to really modernize and expand our capabilities and abilities in terms of preparedness, in terms of responding, and in terms of mitigating and being able to get back to our functionality.
A close scrutiny of the 2023-2024 budget reveals that the security docket received an extra 39 billion shillings from the previous budget and the third highest overall allocation after education and infrastructure at 377 billion shillings. And this is how the Treasury proposes to share the funds. The Ministry of Defence will get the lion's share of 173.1 billion shillings. The National Police Service will get 110.6 billion shillings. And at position 3 is the National Intelligence Service NIS, which will get 46.3 billion shillings. The State Department for Correctional Services will receive 32.7 billion shillings, while 13.9 billion shillings will go into leasing police motor vehicles and modernization programs. To step up the war on crime and modernize the forensic laboratory, the CS proposed an allocation of 918.4 million shillings.
So it is better, it is advisable, it is in tandem with the responding to risks that we advance our weaponry, we advance our equipment, we advance our training, and we advance our capabilities in line with the days that are there, in line with the changes in crimes and international risks that are manifesting themselves in us. And this will dictate a lot the need for us to continually have that advancement of weapons in our infrastructure.
The National Task Force on Police Reforms, chaired by former Chief Justice David Maraga, proposed an increase in the police officers' salaries by 40% in the next 3 years and improve their welfare. The Maraga Task Force established that in many places across the country, the living conditions for police officers was dehumanizing, thus undermining their morale and ability to deliver quality services.
We have now committed our country to international duties. That requires us to really prepare our boots on the ground in terms of training, in terms of weaponry, and in terms of support.
But with giant allocation comes giant expectations. Observers will be keen to see how the implementation process pans out and whether the promise to modernize the country's security apparatus will be honored or not. Francis Ntomwa, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, let's see how the education sector will fare as well with this budget, where the ministry will take the lion's share. In the budget announced by the National Treasury's CS, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, in a statement, he announced in Parliament the ministry will take home 656 billion shillings, translating into 27.6% of total government expenditure. In the budget, the government proposes 13.4 billion shillings allocation to transition 46,000 junior secondary interns, teachers to permanent and pensionable. This follows a month strike by JSS teachers who were demanding better working conditions besides being employed on permanent and pensionable terms, demanding job security and better conditions.
The over 46,000 junior secondary school intern teachers can now breathe easy in the quest for permanent employment after the government set aside 13.4 billion for their employment.
Kenya shillings 5 billion for the examinations fee waiver. In addition, Mr. Speaker, I have proposed an allocation of Kenya shillings 13.4 billion for the conversion of 46,000 junior secondary school interns to permanent and pensionable terms.
The allocation towards the employment of the intern teachers comes after months of a standoff, a strike, and even a pending court case between the JSS teachers and the Teacher Service Commission. The education sector is set to receive a substantial 656 billion, which is 27.6% of the total expenditure. This includes 142.2 billion for basic education, 12.8 billion for higher education, and 30.7 billion each for technical vocation training and junior secondary capitation. Additionally, 1.3 billion is allocated for training on the competence-based curriculum.
I have proposed a total allocation of 656.6 billion, or 27.6% of total expenditures to the education sector. Mr. Speaker, other proposed allocations to the education sector include Kenya shillings 1.1 billion for the research, science and technology innovation. Mr. Speaker, the government is implementing the new funding model for public universities and TVET institutions through the provision of government scholarships and loans apportioned according to students' need. The new funding framework seeks to offer students whose households are at the bottom of the pyramid equal opportunity in accessing university education as well as technical training. Towards this end, Mr. Speaker, I have proposed an allocation of Kenya shillings 35.9 billion to the Higher Education Loans Boards for provision of loans to university and TVET students. Kenya shillings 16.9 billion for the scholarship for university students, and Kenya shillings 7.7 billion capitation and scholarship for TVET students.
These allocations demonstrate a significant investment across levels of education, from basic to vocational and higher learning. This marks a 28 billion increase from the previous budget that saw the sector scoop 628 billion. And Musungu KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, Kenya's 2024-2025 budget aims to tackle the country's debt while protecting its fragile economic recovery, with growth estimated at 5.5% in 2024 and 2025. In order to tackle the debt crisis, tax measures have been put in place to generate additional revenue. Kuni Kelvin has more.
In 2024-2025 budget reading by Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u, it has come out clear that Kenya's economy is largely driven by agriculture, manufacturing, transport and storage, financial, insurance, services and real estate. The country's fiscal deficit is expected to be 3.3% of gross domestic product, compared with a revised deficit of 5.7% for 2023-2024.
Mr. Speaker, the focus of our fiscal policy thus remains to reduce the deficit from 5.7% of GDP in the current financial year to 3.3% in the financial year 2024-2025. We're going to do this through various means. First, domestic resource mobilization. Mr. Speaker, implementation of government's plan for rapid and inclusive socio-economic transformation largely depends on robust revenue growth rate.
The registration of VAT threshold has been raised to 8 million shillings from 5 million shillings in recognition of inflation. Wheat will be imported at 10% import duty instead of the EAC 35%. Kenya to apply a higher duty of 35% on apparel and clothing industry imports instead of the EAC common 25% excise duty removed from eggs, poultry products and other items.
To create a we want to create a tax system that is not only predictable to taxpayers, but also yields predictable revenues to government. We want to develop a tax system that supports markets, that supports production, consumption, and even investments. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, the year 2024-2025 marks the beginning of these reforms through the proposed amendments in various tax laws contained in the Finance Bill 2024.
Treasury is seeking to make the housing levy a deductible tax, a move aimed at easing the taxation burden on employees. The proposal, if adopted, will reduce the taxable income due from employers, marking a shift from the current arrangement where the housing tax is eating into the pay slips of workers.
Pay as you earn are calculated from the same base, leading to double taxation. To address this, I propose to make the housing levy deductible expense. This means that there is a tax savings for Kenyans and therefore affording Kenyans more money in the pocket. Mr. Speaker, in order to encourage Kenyans to continue constructing their own houses, I propose to increase the limit of interest payments that qualify for mortgage relief from Kenya shillings 300,000 to Kenya shillings 360,000 per annum.
The outlined custom taxes are expected to generate additional revenue of 346.7 billion shillings in the 2024-2025 budget. This accounts for 1.9% of GDP. Nyakundi Kelvin, KTN News.
All right, let's get the reactions of Parliament, where a majority of members of Parliament were forced to switch off their phones to avoid thousands of phone calls from Kenyans after their personal numbers were leaked online. The leak is part of an online campaign that seeks to force the MPs to reject the Financial Bill 2024 through constant phone calls and text messages ahead of the bill's debate in the National Assembly, I should say, next week. As KTN's David Mboka now reports, the leak came on a day when Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u presented budget estimates for the upcoming financial year before Parliament that are the highest ever at 4 trillion shillings.
Even at the time of going on air, more phone numbers belonging to leaders and especially members of Parliament were being leaked on the X platform by a user identified as Amerix. The online leak under the hashtag #RespectMyHustle coincides with the reading of budget estimates for the upcoming financial year by Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u at the floor of the National Assembly on Thursday afternoon. According to some members of Parliament whose personal numbers are now public, Kenyans have been sending them money to confirm if the numbers are truly theirs, then calling and texting them consistently to ask them to reject the Finance Bill 2024. Most members of Parliament have since resorted to switching off their phones or blocking all numbers after receiving over 5,000 phone calls and thousands of text messages. The MPs, mainly from the majority Kenya Kwanza side, have however said that despite the phone calls, the finance bill cannot be dropped, only proposals that have been met with backlash.
I see some social media riots. People sending us vulgar messages and telling us you must reject the finance bill. I want to tell them, we are not going to reject the finance bill because we must fund government. But we're going to reject contentious clauses. Clauses about the bread are debatable. If we can't reject some of the clauses entirely, then we have to seek a way to reduce part of the proposals.
You know, Kenyans, when they hear finance bill, they don't want even to know what is inside the finance bill. They just want to say, just reject it. And that's what has been trending today. People have been on our inboxes, on our messages, on our emails, kindly reject the finance bill. But why are we rejecting the finance bill? So those are the conversations we're going to have.
Opposition MPs present at the budget reading promised to introduce amendments to rejected proposals such as the excise tax on bread, the eco-levy on diapers and sanitary pads, as well as the motor vehicle circulation tax.
Me as a member of Parliament will say we will not accept new taxes. We better remain with what we have now and a cut on wastages, corruption and duplication of services. That would be a better way to save for this government without adding more burden and hurting Kenyans who are already feeling the heat and the pinch due to the punitive 2023 Finance Act.
You want to tax a country that is unemployed, a country that its GDP is not realistic, a country without road network infrastructure improved, a country that is not healthy, there are no drugs in the hospital, there are not increased healthcare facilities given, the governors are always threatening, demonstrating, the nurses are out on the street, our JSS are sacked, yet we're talking of a 4 trillion budget. We are just joking.
It is now up to their majority counterparts who also have not only promised to introduce their amendments, but also promised to throw their weight behind amendments from their opposition counterparts that seek to do away with controversial proposals.
With the Finance Bill 2024 debate set to intensify in the coming days and weeks, Kenyans will be waiting with bated breath to see whether their representatives, the members of parliament, will walk the talk and drop some of the proposals that have caused uproar. David Muthoka, KTN News at the Parliament buildings, Nairobi.
Let's sort of to the courts where Principal Magistrate Monica Kivuti is nursing severe bullet wounds after she was shot by a police officer who is an OCS from Londiani in Kericho County. The police officer, Samson Kipruto, was immediately neutralized by security officers inside Makadara law courts. The cause of the shooting is unknown, but it is believed to be linked to a case involving the officer's wife, Jennifer Wairimo Kabiru, who was facing charges of 2.9 million shillings fraud. The body of the deceased has been taken to the city mortuary, while the judge is undergoing treatment at the Metropolitan Hospital in Nairobi. Our very own Odi Francis has more.
The Makadara law court turned into a crime scene Thursday morning after Magistrate Monica Kivuti was shot by Londiani OCS Samson Kipchirchir Kipruto.
Somehow, one of our magistrates was injured, and a few of our officers were the orderlies of the same courts. There had been a case which is ongoing, and the ruling was determined today. And during the time of that ruling or judgment given, a situation erupted up in court number 9, whereby one suspect entered to the courts and injured the magistrate in that particular court and the orderlies.
Immaculate Ochola, an advocate of the High Court, was at the scene during the deadly gun attack.
It happened really fast. Within a span of a moment, it happened. And everyone was up and running, and the prison wardens were also shooting. So we were told to lie down. What happened, what most people were thinking, maybe there are prisoners who were escaping, who had escaped.
The police officer identified as Chief Inspector Samson Kipchirchir Kipruto. OCS Londiani is aged 55 years and was attending a case involving his wife, Jennifer Wairimo, who is an accused person in the case of obtaining money by false pretense amounting to 2.9 million shillings. A pistol was recovered from the scene of attack.
The other counsel for the accused person informed me that arrest warrants had been issued against the accused person. The accused person had just been brought to court by the husband. I actually saw the accused person looking like she was very sick, in oxygen, something like that. She had been issued with court dates to attend court, but she wasn't coming. Allegedly, she was in hospital, sick leave for a long time.
In the process, 3 officers were injured. Augustine Michael Kithumbe, who was injured on the left eye, Maureen Lepes sustained a gunshot in the left leg, and Eunice Masharia, who sustained an injury on the left hand. Monica Kivuti continues to receive treatment at the Metropolitan Hospital in Buruburu.
She's one of the impartial magistrates around. She gives fair rulings and fair judgments.
Homicide detectives have taken over the case. A statement from the Chief Justice Martha Koome says that the Makadara courts have been closed until Monday next week. The statement further says that additional security measures have been taken to secure the place for all its officers and those attending court cases.
What Kenyans out here should understand is that whatever judgment or whatever ruling that is rendered, it is never the end of life. What you can do is just apply for either review by the same magistrate. If you're not satisfied with him, you can just appeal to a higher court.
Now, it is the first incident in history for a police officer to shoot a principal magistrate within the premises of the court. Perhaps it's time for judiciary and police reforms to take place for the safety of the courts in Kenya. Ode Francis, KTN News at the Makadara Law Courts, Nairobi.
Now, family and friends gathered at the Kenyatta University Hospital Memorial Funeral Home for the requiem mass of former Standard Group journalist Shadrach Miti, who passed away on May the 28th while receiving treatment at Kenyatta University Hospital, was eulogized as a hard-working man who has left a big gap in journalism. Catherine Muraget attended the Requiem Mass and filed the following report.
Result of profound sadness, grief or anguish. Tears flowed on Thursday during the memorial service for Shadrach Miti, the fallen Standard Group journalist who until his untimely demise was a senior reporter on the education beat at KTN News. Family, relatives and friends including the media fraternity gathered here at Chapel 1 of the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital Memorial Home to bid farewell to a man who had left a mark on the face of the earth. Tears flowed freely, signifying profound sadness, grief and anguish as Shadrach Miti was remembered for his kindness. His widow, Roslyn, says she has not only lost a loving husband, but also a wonderful father to their daughter.
Shadi always put others before himself and never complained about hardships of life. He never let the negativity of the world get him down. He leaves behind a child and a wife who would be the same without him, but we are all going to try to honor his memory through kindness and compassion for others. He wanted to leave the world a little kinder than he found it, and hopefully we can all help to maintain his legacy. Fare thee well, my sweetheart.
Miti's mother, Helen Muhwana Miti, said she has lost her son, who was her only support.
Amekuwa kama msichana na mvulana kwangu. Jinsi nilivyo ni Shadrach.
Hata ugonjwa yote Shadrach. Hata kulima huko nyumbani Shadrach. Kila kitu Shadrach. Sasa nataka kanisa ya Shadrach mniombee tu, tena muombewe wa ndugu wa Shadrach na watatu wa Shadrach. Mungu akafunike familia hiyo na damu yake.
Miti's siblings eulogized him as an obedient and disciplined brother who always had a few words.
Tangu ile wakati alisaliwa 1980 mpaka sasa at the age of 44 up to now, I have never differed with my brother. Never. Hao wengine tunakorofishana. Hata wengine mmeona wengine tukorofishana. But with him we have never anything I told him, he always responded positively na inaisha hivi.
I personally si kujua Shadrach ni mgonjwa. Hatukujua, tulishtuka sana tukiambiwa Shadrach amekufa. Hata mimi nikauliza, ni gari imemgonga? Ni mtu amemgonga? Ni nini imetendekea ndugu yetu? Lakini nikimuona enyewe Shadrach amekufa.
Also present were Miti's colleagues and friends in the media fraternity. Colleagues remembered Miti as a hardworking person who loved his work.
Shadrach joined the Standard in the year 2012, December. And I was privileged to be one of the panelists in his interview, and we took him as a reporter. He's been a polite man with a few words. He's been working diligently until his demise.
Na alikuwa mtu ambaye mimi binafsi nilikuwa namtegemea. Kukiwa na taarifa ambayo inahusu mambo ya education, I would always go to Shadrach and ask him, so what do you think? Why is government doing this?
He was a good man. That is what I can say. Always, hata akiwa kwa ofisi, mtu ambaye tunaweza sema alikuwa team player kwa mambo ya ofisi, always going out of his way to do good and to make sure that he delivers whatever work that he was assigned by his supervisor.
Tunapompa safari yake ya mwisho na buriani, nasema kwamba kwetu sisi kama wenzake tulikuwa tunafanya kazi naye ni pigo kubwa sana kama rafiki na kama mwenzetu.
After the time Miti left us, I think I can say that he was one of the best TV education reporters in the country. I don't know if there is any other person who could compete Shadrach because he was willing to learn and he was dedicated and very strong.
Johnson Zioka, the chairman of the Kenya Primary School Head Teachers Association, KEPSHA, promised to help Miti's family especially with his daughter's studies.
Capture will not be left behind. That we would like that kitty for the education of the young one who has been left behind. Utujumuishe sisi kama Capture.
Miti was a man of the people. The poem composed by Paul Nabiswa to the late Miti is obvious that his friends will miss him a lot.
Tulipokea habari tukabaki na majonzi. Ulikatika jamani ukiwa bado mbichi. Bado twauliza Miti mbona ulienda kasi. Shadi mwana wa Samini ulale salama ndugu.
The body has been transported to Lugari, Kakamega County, where the funeral will take place on Saturday, June 15th, 2024. Miti has left a widow, Rosalind Miti, and a grade 3 daughter, Respa Miti. Miti's smile, humor, and hard work will be greatly missed by family, relatives, and friends. As the Standard Media Group family, we offer our condolences to the family, and may God rest Miti's soul in peace. Catherine Imurogate, KTN News.
Right, Shadrach Miti, to me, was the epitome of self-effacing, very humble man that we've known for many years that we've worked in this industry. I've never seen a person who is dedicated, as you've heard from many, to his work, that is family focused. His face was just like a flint, on his work. That's all he had to do. And he was fully dedicated to matters academia. We've lost one person that I know was so impassioned about journalism, and may the good Lord rest his soul in peace. Right, I know we began without the papers. I just want to run you by them right now, just briefly, and then we continue pace with our panelists, just interspersing with them giving us comments on the budget. That was a big day yesterday. Budget's big appeal is what is on the front page of the Standard today. Budget statement. The Treasury is walking a tightrope, it says here, juggling between raising revenue to fund insatiable government spending and amid public outcry over increased taxes while moving to cut borrowing in an effort to narrow the budget deficit, even as all signs point to difficulty in meeting yesterday's projections by CS Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. And you have the breakdown of that here on the front page of the Standard this morning. You have a special coverage as well that is well laid out for you on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, where you can get all those details. Woman suffers fate like mothers. That is also in the pages of the Standard today. Freedom for Savula Chebutwe. On page 23, policeman shot dead after attack on magistrate. We just read about that particular story. A very interesting story there. We shall also just comment on it as well. With the ongoing police reforms, the Maraga reports, we don't know fully yet what has been implemented or where the traction of that particular report is. We pray that it's just not like any other report that will be accumulating dust at the end of the day. Now, job freeze, tax squeeze. That is a splash on the front page of the Daily Nation. Opposition MPs keep House Session vow to shoot down budget for punishing Kenyans. Season of pain, it says here. On the sub-headline, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u yesterday announced a raft of sharp expenditure cuts, a freeze on employment, and new tax measures in a budget that mirrored the International Monetary Fund's IMF recent demands for deep public sector reforms aimed at ensuring country starts living within its means in 3 years. You have a story on page 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the Daily Nation today, and the breakdown as well. You have the losers and winners all given out here. Ruto Shan's politics pledges to boost agriculture in Mount Kenya tour. That is where he is right now. This is the third time we're waiving this debt, and we will not entertain managers of cooperatives taking loans without the express authority of farmers. That story is tucked away on page 10 of the Daily Nation. And also, tragedy, police officer shot dead as magistrate injured in city court drama. A fierce gun battle rocked the Makadara Law Courts. We gave you the details, and you have a story on page 2 as well of the Daily Nation today. Star, Ruto goes easy on loans had on taxes, alcohol, cigarette, gambling, and payslips targeted to boost KRA collections. And you have 4 trillion shillings budget, government out to raise revenue locally and avoid external debt. That is what the flagger is reading here. And also you have a breakdown there of how this was read out yesterday. Total budget, you have it there, 4 trillion shillings, revenue as well. Total revenue, 3.34 trillion shillings. And key allocations, you have education, infrastructure, national security as big winners as well, and taxes as well. They're also breaking down for you from the sin tax to also the betting levy as well. Ruto economic diplomacy policy agenda is Mudavadi cracking it. That is also what you need to read in the Siasa Full magazine inside the Star. Daylight robbery, right? This is how bold also People Daily, they've gone today. Tax agony, it says employees set to feel the brunt of new tax measures as state attempts to raise revenue targeting the payslip to service 4 trillion shillings mega budget. 2, 3, 4, 16 and 17 of the People Daily is where all this is tucked away for you in today's publication. And also you have a breakdown of the Ruto administration allocations to various sectors of the economy given out on the front page of the People Daily. It's a close shave for magistrate. This is the story, and you have a face there. Senior police officer shoots and seriously injures judicial officer before being gunned down by his colleague. And that story is inside on page 6. Ruto and Gachagua downplay differences. And that story is on page 5 with the Mount Kenya tour. Maybe they've toned down now on the fiercest sort of verbal ping pong and verbs that we've recently been, of course, exposed to as far as politics is concerned. Ni ushuru na ushuru zaidi. That is what we have on the front page of Taifa Leo. Taxes and more taxes. Wakenya wataendelea kuvumilia hali ngumu ya maisha katika mwaka wa kifedha ujao, wakitozwa ushuru mkubwa wa bidhaa na huduma, huku serikali ikilenga kupata pesa za kufadhili bajeti yake ya trilioni 4 na kulipa madeni. You have a story on page 2 of Taifa Leo. In Uganda, right, before I go to Uganda, we can buckle down to business. I'm just jumping at the gun here. M-Pesa relief as big cars owners hit 347 billion shillings new taxes, it says, as a splash here, 20% duty on cash transfer fees reversed, 100,000 motor vehicles tax removed. I think the hue and cry on it now has finally happened. Everyone was talking about 2.5 tax valuation, the tax, motor vehicle tax, circulation tax, not valuation, right? That
has it been removed?
Right, it says here. Yeah, vehicle tax cap removed. Or what am I reading?
It was removed.
It was removed, yeah.
So is that good news?
Yeah, so for your V8 now, I know you're very happy. Yeah, and so is Manyora, and so is everyone here with V8. I'm the only one with a VITS.
No, the cap was 100,000 limit, which means that 2.5 will be on the value, so it can go up to even 500,000. Even
the cap has been removed. Okay, let me.
No, it's removed. Don't look for it. The permanent secretary, the principal secretary, Fiscal, was on some TV station yesterday, and he said yes, they removed. So what is the implication of that? What is the implication? Simple. The rich will also have to pay. Why do you want to always to want the poor?
Yeah.
Why?
It's true.
I mean, why are you capping? By the time you cap, it means you want those with big vehicles.
Yeah, not to pay.
Not to pay.
Not to pay, yeah, capital, yeah. Martin,
Martin, you're saying the same.
No, you need to sell your fleet of cars
saying
right now. You're the people who need to do austerity measures.
Those who have big cars also to pay taxes.
These people with big cars, yeah.
I read that, but he had it on TV. So now, a person who has read it, I don't read you. Which is better?
The one who has had it on the TV.
Secondary information.
That is secondary information, sure. The primary information.
Yeah. You got to secondary information.
The one who has spoken the word is more authentic
than the
one who has written.
The person who
that's the second
finance bill.
No.
So you go for what is there.
In the finance bill,
it's not there.
Yeah.
It's been
So
removed.
the cap was removed.
He had a problem trying to address that issue. He was really pinned down, but he's a sharp young man. He wriggled out of it.
He wriggled out of it. All right.
And actually, I liked the way he explained in a very clever way, without offending either the rich or the poor. But you could see the message is that taxes are for all of us, not one category of the citizens.
It will be
so
very
I think
sad.
that cap is removed. Then I think that's a way
That's
to go.
good. For me, it's good.
Yeah, for me, that's good.
I know.
I liked the way he spoke it. It was very nice.
What I don't like about these colleagues of mine is that they seem to be saying that the 2.5 tax itself is a good thing.
No,
and
nobody said that.
The removal of the cap is even better.
It's even better. Yeah. This guy is mixing things.
No. You see, the point
Look here,
there is
the debate on whether we should or should not accept this 2.5 or levy it. That's a different argument. But while it is being levied, why do you want to spare the rich?
Who are the rich?
Who are the rich? Anybody who owns a vehicle that will attract more than 100,000 shillings, that's a big vehicle. You must be a rich person.
So
rich in some sense. Rich in some sense. At least you cannot be driving a vehicle like that and you live in Kibera. Or Kibra, as it is called.
No, but
you're creating a society. In a nuanced way, that is a wealth tax that, Mheshimiwa, you're being taxed.
We can debate. It is actually...
To be rich is to be a criminal.
Most likely.
Because most criminals are rich.
Most likely.
Yeah, but you see, if
to
you
be
are
rich in this country, Kelwa,
you must
really
also
must
go through the process.
You must be a thief to be rich. Rich as in really rich. Like to be a billionaire.
Rich or to be wealthy.
Yeah. Whichever, don't go into the details of wealthy, rich. This is academic.
No, but the issue is simple.
99.999% of people with degrees don't even know the difference.
Let people pay taxes for their vehicles according to the so that there will be equality.
You say a man who has struggled to buy a small vehicle is paying 5,000, which is 2.5% of the value of that vehicle. And your 2.5% is 300,000. You don't want to pay. You want to cap at 100. That's being unfair. What kind of society are we building? You are the one who should pay.
You are assuming
we should actually say anybody who drives a vehicle that is worth less than 500,000. That's a hustler. Don't charge him anything. That makes sense now. But to say let's charge the rich, the poor, and then when we get somewhere around where the rich are, we stop charging. We can't accept that.
But I think the rich are not criminals. We can't say they are criminals. Some of the people have earned their money in a very hard way. Let's say majority.
Few.
Criminals are always fewer than the good people.
In other countries. In our country, the criminals are more, the thieves are more.
But we don't have statistics. These are just assumptions.
But we just observe.
Today, when you observe somebody, have moved from driving a small car to a big car.
What you do?
Then you start saying your story.
Professor, what you do, if you want to know I'm right, where you stay, close your eyes if you know your neighbors. Or from your village, if you ever go to your village and you know it, close your eyes. Look at the people driving big vehicles who have put up big houses and ask yourself, in a society where hard work pays, how many of those people will be having the things they have? Almost none.
But you see, Prof, at times...
My mother once told me I took you to school. Now look at somebody who didn't go to school. She has a vehicle. Carrying firewood for the mother. And here I took you to school.
Wherever she is, must be disappointed.
I was supposed to buy a vehicle earlier than I wanted to buy.
Look at a simple case of two primary school teachers.
Correct.
Earning the same salary.
Yes.
None of them is a headmaster, so he will not have a chance to steal.
Yes.
But in a period of 20 years, one will be having a permanent house, and the other one will still be staying in a semi-permanent house.
Yes. Other factors considered.
So are you saying that the one who has a permanent house is a criminal?
That's not theft.
What is
not
it?
A rich person. Just a hustler who has struggled to put up some small, inconsequential
And he might
house.
buy a vehicle that is worth about 5 million.
How he
So now he becomes a criminal.
How does he buy?
Oh, he can take a loan.
Oh, which loan can you take to buy a vehicle 5 million if you're a teacher? My friend, where do you live?
No.
Where
I
do
live
you
in
live?
Kenya.
You rich people, you have a problem.
No, I'm not.
If teachers hear you, they'll come for you. They'll beat you up.
How?
Why are you mocking teachers?
No.
You know I'm a teacher, don't mock us, please.
I'm also a trained teacher. So
but you never told God you are rich.
No,
a teacher take a loan to buy. You know how much you pay per month if you borrowed 5 million?
No, but
even the maximum repayment
you
period.
syndicate, you see, bro. I want you to understand the way even when I was earning 18,000 as a member
5
of
million
Parliament,
shillings. If it's a bank loan, which is a teacher has no collateral. Let's start there. Most teachers won't have collateral for 5 million.
Why?
So therefore, it will be a salary.
But you can
listen. Therefore, it will be a salary, a loan on salary. Inaitwa mkopo wa salo.
Like
it is the maximum is like 72 months. Maybe it has gone up, which is about 6 years. Okay.
Yeah.
To pay 5 million for 6 years, you will be paying in the region of 100 and about 130, 120, 140. I'm not quite sure, but more than 110. Now, even your salary is not half of that. So please let us stop there.
No. but the problem with you forget that somebody can plan.
Which planning?
You can plan. You buy a small car for let's say 500,000.
Then next time
you sell this car, you buy another one, and you upgrade until
when you sell a vehicle, you get less now.
No, you don't get less at times. No, I think you've not lived in Kenya long enough. I bought a car in 19.
It has just existed in Kenya.
I bought a car in 1989 for 200,000.
Yes.
In 1993. I sold the same car for 350,000.
Those are minor things.
No, but you can plan.
Those minor you cannot move from a primary school teacher or a secondary school teacher cannot take a loan of 5 million.
No, you're not taking a total of 5 million.
All right.
You are taking a loan to just fill the gap.
All right.
That's how you survive.
I think we need to settle this off camera.
Let's agree that you have a small argument.
We need to settle this off camera. My time has ticked up to 7 o'clock, so that we take a short break. When we circle back, of course, we continue with the analysis. Martin will tell us the development in the courts there. This has never happened in this country. So what reforms maybe, or this is an eye-opener.
Absolutely.
Especially on the security of the officers there, the orderlies, the judicial officers moving forward. Will you be admitting now guns in the courts as well? We need to look into that. And of course, we analyze the politics of the week. It has been a big one. The row between, not really a row, I should say, but yeah, it's developing to be a row, so to speak, as far as Mount Kenya is concerned, and the deputy president. And also, we had also the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, declaring the fact that he has not been receiving his pension, and we saw the president also reaching out, making a call to try and have a happy medium, and forming, of course, sort of a committee to make sure that that is addressed. You're watching Uongozi today here on Morning Prime. We take a short break, we slake our thirst. When we circle back, we continue with more. Slake your thirst as well.